That doesn't sound good.
What's up, Brite Nation? We are officially back home in the United States of America after being gone for about 3 months of full international travel.
Yeah, and I want to be back. It's cold. I want to go back to the warm, humid beaches. I'm underdressed for how cold it is right now.
I was in a bikini less than 48 hours ago, and now I'm in freezing cold weather. It's fantastic. We love it so much. No, it is finally, it's phenomenal to be home. It's bittersweet, but it's fantastic. But first things first, although we have a massive to-do list and a lot of surprises coming for you guys, first things first, we gotta wake up the whole fleet. Anti-gravity battery, so never needed to unhook it.
That doesn't sound good. See what happens when you leave your vehicles for a few months to go have fun. Yeah, so the starter clearly not happy at all. The reverse lights in the stepchild are not working. My O2 sensors are still not working, and my 4-low switch is still acting finicky. So, one at a time. It sounded like it was a bad battery, which it can't be, or a bad starter. Luckily, I have a starter. The battery can't be low or bad. Basically, because it's an anti-gravity lithium battery, it just has all the juice until it has like no juice. So if it goes to start, it's got the juice. These things are super awesome because I don't even have to disconnect it. If I leave the Jeep for a couple months and it dies, the battery isn't actually dead. The battery just goes to sleep, and then there's a button on top or have a remote inside the Jeep that you hit it, it wakes the battery back up, and you still have plenty of voltage. So when it hits a certain voltage cutoff, the battery shuts itself off so it doesn't drain all the way and go dead. They're super lightweight. That's super convenient. There's a slight draw somewhere in the stepchild if I don't lock it, and I don't know if that has to do with like the computer waking up and going to sleep, but if I leave it unlocked, which I used to do a lot, it would die in about 3 or 4 days. If I lock it, it lasts weeks. I just know that when I go out and I hit the button, if it's dead, it's not actually dead. I just pop the hood or get inside, hit the little button, battery wakes back up. I never have to worry about having a jump starter because it just goes to sleep. I do have a spare starter, and it's not really a spare, it's the original starter. When we were out in the East Coast last year, I think it was, I was having a starter issue. At least I thought it was a starter issue because the vehicle wouldn't start. Turned out it was a relay, it was a starter relay issue, but we went ahead and, because we thought it was a starter, we replaced the starter. I guess lasted maybe a year and a half, and now it's making that noise. So I'm gonna throw the OEM one back on it and hope that fixes that. Now luckily on the Hemis, the starter is pretty easy. You got the heat shield here, and you just have this bolt here and that bolt right there, this white clip right here, that white clip right there, and then the power wire right on top of that. I have the heat shield out of the way, so it's a stud that's also a bolt. So the heat shield sits on here with the 13 and then the 15 to take the bolt out. There's a 10 millimeter right here for the other side of the heat shield. So the 10, 13s, and the heat shield comes out, and then you have all the room for the starter. You can see that plug there, and then the power wire up top. Oh, that was already off. That was barely touching. Huh. No, I'm already here. I'm gonna swap it out. But that does look kind of burned. Like maybe it vibrated off. I'm gonna clean that up some, but maybe that was the problem, because it was kind of weird that it would just go bad all of a sudden. So I got it out. That was pretty simple. This guy up here is also a 13, and it wasn't super tight. Like it was snug, but not very tight, and a lot of power going through that. And then this guy might have just been knocked off when I pulled the heat shield. I don't know. But you can see like it's not very old. Yeah, it was definitely catching right there on the flywheel. Hopefully it didn't mess up the flywheel too much. We'll have to look in there and see, but Yeah, it could have just been hanging up, or maybe the contacts weren't on there great and it wasn't giving enough power to kick it and engage it. I don't know. You can see, yeah, it's definitely chewing it up some, but there's marks on it. I might need to get in there with a file, but that would take me a long time. I'm gonna put the starter back in. If I have issues, I might need to pull that down and like file each one of the sides of those teeth. Oh, I hope not. All right, that's all she wrote. That was pretty, that was probably one of the easiest things I had to do in the Jeep. Let's get her started and see if that worked out. I'm really hoping so. It's gotta be, right? It's gotta be. Whoa, 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 whoa. All right, let's fire her up. Please start cleanly. Oh, that's definitely better. Oh yeah. Victory! Sick. So on to the next thing. My reverse lights don't work. I have Baja Designs like S2s, I think, in the rear bumper. And I don't know when they quit working, but they just don't come on with the reverse lights anymore. Obviously, I'm gonna check the fuses first. I don't know, because they're just tied. I don't know if they're tied to the backup lights or the trailing wiring harness. When I hit that rock and I flip the Jeep, I mess up the bumper pretty good, and I can't get to the lights without pulling the bumper. And I'm scared to pull the bumper because I don't know if it'll go back on. So yeah. Fun. I guess let's get into that. So I'm pretty sure these go into the trailer wiring. I don't want to take off the bumper because I don't know if it's gonna go back on. But there's a relay here in the tail light. These tail lights are just wired in the plug in there. I don't know what this relay is wired into. If it's for the lights, like is it triggering the relay and turning on the lights? Pretty sure this is the trailer wiring plug because that runs over.
1 hour later.
So I have no clue. I powered the trailer plug. This relay here that I have no power to the relay at all. One of them has, I think the 30 on here has like a 0.5 volt. So I have no idea what this is for. The brake lights, blinkers work. I have no clue. And the reverse switch is working because I would assume because my backup camera comes on. It knows I'm in reverse, backup camera's on, no reverse lights. All right, so I'm not really sure. All the fuses are good. I have power at the rear plug. I didn't do this, and Chris didn't do it. I think Next Venture did it when they did the bumper. So I'm hoping they know. I'll have to get a hold of them. It's Saturday, so I'll get a hold of them next week. I don't really know about electrical. I know just enough to know I don't really know a lot, and it's very annoying sometimes. Unless there's fuses, I gotta see if there's fuses inside the Jeep. I just know about the fuse panel under the hood. The other issue I'm having is the 4-low switch. That's a pain because it's intermittent. I can't get it to do it all the time. I might go wheeling and it works fine for a few days, and then all of a sudden it just starts acting up, and I unplug some stuff, wiggle some stuff around, and it comes back on. And I've replaced everything. I've replaced everything except for the whole harness for the engine that comes from like the main plug. I've replaced everything underneath, the switches for the Atlas, the transfer case, I've replaced everything. And so it seems like maybe one of the wires is like pulled or slightly broken or something just from all the abuse on the factory harness, and maybe it's just broken somewhere. So I might just have to replace the whole harness that goes to the T case, which is probably engine and transmission harness. I don't know. It's this plug right here. So I have the inner fender, the back part out because it's this plug right here, and it's on this side, and that's a lot of freaking wires. And 2 of those wires runs to the T case. And so I have this here just to see like when it starts acting up, if I move some of these wires around or unplug it, plug it back in or whatnot. But it could be on either side, I guess, of this plug. I mean, that is up against the firewall. So yeah, I mean, it could be a pin because everything else has been replaced back that way because you have to splice into it. The original Atlas, you had to splice into it. Now it's all plug and play, but all that's new wiring. So the only thing that's left is what's in the harness here, unless the harness somewhere around here is rubbing somewhere, who knows. But the biggest issue is that it's intermittent. The intermittent electrical issues suck to begin with, but at least if the problem is just there, like the lights, I'll just hire somebody smart enough to just trace it from here back systematically because they don't work, and eventually we're gonna find what works. But when it's intermittent, when it works for days and days and then just doesn't work, and then I shut the car off, turn it back on, and it works again, pull my hair out. And that's been happening it's been happening since the stock T case. Then we put the Atlas in and it was fine for a long time. So I thought it was just the switches because we put new switches in with the Atlas and wiring and all that. And it was fine for like a year. And then all of a sudden it just started happening. And then it might go a month or 2 months fine. It might go an hour. It might give me problems for a week and then no problems for 2 weeks. Yeah, this is the fun stuff about when you've beat your stuff up for years and years and years. And yeah, like I said, electrical is just not, it's just not my thing. So what's the big deal with the 4 low? Well, you get some good things that happen when you go into 4 low. Now, even though the Lite is having the issue, it's a mechanical transfer case. So it's in 4 low. When I put it in 4 low, it's in 4 low, no matter what the Lite says. Now, what I've been doing is I've been disconnecting the power to the module, so that way it thinks I'm just in 2 high, 4 high, or there's just no power going to it at all, and it doesn't know, and so it defaults to 2 high, 4 high, whatever. It's not a big deal, because it's mechanical and I'm still in 4 low. But you do miss out on a few things. And one of the big things is that it's not that it just shuts off or that it's like the intermittent part of it. It's actually flickering. And when it flickers, that's the biggest issue because it's a safety concern. Here, let me show you. So there's the lights right there. 2 high, 4 high, neutral, 4 low. Not a big deal. Now, most of you will know that when you go into 4 low, your traction control light, it automatically shuts off the traction control, which is cool. It also turns off the auto park. Like if you were to open your door, if you're in drive or something, you open your door, it gets rid of that. It also remaps your throttle to make it not so sensitive, because when you're in 4 low, you have all that extra torque. It does a few things. One of the coolest things that it does is that it actually lets you go into manual mode and shift like all the way up to 4th gear. And I'll go through and I'll try to show all that here in a minute to see if I can do it, if you can hear me with the vehicle running. The issue is that when it starts flickering, it starts turning on and turning off traction control. It starts going in and out of that like auto park disable, and a lot of times it will actually mess with the transmission. And when I'm in manual, like so I'm in a manual 2nd or 3rd and I'm climbing an obstacle, the transmission light down here that tells you like what gear you're in, that will start flashing. It still shows I'm in manual, but it actually puts you in drive and starts shifting up through the gears super early. Or sometimes it'll just throw it into neutral or park if I like sometimes come to a stop. It's very dangerous, especially out here where I'm on big obstacles. If all of a sudden it starts being intermittent, flickering on and off, it starts shutting on and off traction control. It starts, the transmission freaks out, and it just does a whole lot of weird things. So generally what I do is once it happens, is I'll just go and pull the fuse for it. That way it's just off and it just thinks I'm in 2 high. Like with no signal, I believe it just defaults to 2 high. At least on my dash it does. And then none of that happens. One of the good things is I do have the Taser. And with the Taser, if you hold down the traction button for like 5 seconds while you're at a stop, it will shut off everything. It'll shut off your traction control, your ABS, your vehicle dynamic control. It literally shuts off every nanny. And so every time I get in and I'm driving, I will hold down the traction control button, and that will disable all of that stuff, but it still doesn't do anything for the transmission if that starts flickering. So it's been kind of an issue, but let me see if I can show you. Okay, so I'm in 2 high. We go to neutral, and then so there's showing 4 low. There isn't a neutral switch for this. It's just a 4 low. It just goes from 2 high to 4 low. Hold on, let me see if I can. Let me start it again. All right, so I'm in 4 low. I'm actually in 4 low now, and you'll see here, manual 1, and only in 4 low can you do this. Oh, there's 2nd, there's 3rd. So you can say electronic stability control off. That automatically happens when you go to 4 low. There's 4th, shift not allowed. So it'll let you go all the way to 4th gear in 4 low. It also shuts off your traction control. Now, if I hold down this button, watch the dash. 1, 1000, 2, 1000, 3, 1000. So now your VDC, your brake, your ABS, everything is off. So because of the Taser, it allows you to shut off all the nannies. So when I'm wheeling, I do that because I don't want anything, like if I'm sliding sideways, I have wheel spin, or there's different wheel speed, front, or whatever is going on. Sometimes the computer will kick in and the VDC will kick in, or if I'm through the dunes, I don't want ABS on in the dunes, because when I slam the brakes, I don't want the ABS trying to stop me. I want the tires to stop and dig into the sand and stop very, very good for soft sand and not have ABS. The ABS does not work as good in sand as not having ABS. So being able to just lock up all 4 tires and it just dig into the sand and stop you instantly is way, way better. So that's something you should always do as soon as you get off-road. And every time you restart the vehicle, it reactivates. If I shut it off, that's the only way to get all that to turn back on again. So if I start it up here, you'll see all the lights, they all shut off. Now I'm still in 4 low, so my traction control is still off. But if I go, there's traction control on because now I'm in 2 high. Now if I'm in 2 high, come over to manual mode, you get first gear, you get second gear, shift not allowed. So you only get first and second gear in high range, but in low range you get all the way up to 4th gear. So like I'd want 4th gear sometimes, 3rd gear, 4th gear, because I'm in low. You don't have as much wheel speed in low, and I might be shooting a wall. I might be on the East Coast and I need the wheel speed, and I can start in 4th gear, punch it, and then hit 5th gear instantly, and that gets you all the wheel speed that you need. Whereas if, you know, if I have it disconnected or it thinks I'm in 2 high but I'm in 4 low, it'll only let me start in 2nd gear. There's quite a few benefits to it knowing that I'm in 4 low, but I've been working around and driving around that for years now because I can't find out what the issue is. I've replaced everything but the whole engine harness, with the harness that goes to that plug, which I think is going to be my next move, because I've replaced both TK sensors. I've replaced the T-case module. I've replaced the wiring, the power wiring, I've literally, and it's only 2 wires going back there, and there's 2 sensors, and then there's 2 wires going to each sensor out of the module that Atlas gives you. Like I said, this has been happening before I had an Atlas. There's not much there. There's not much to really mess with. So I need to figure out what that harness is, like what, and I guess just order a new harness and spend the time to do that. I don't know if it's gonna be possible with the engine in the car. I sure as heck don't want to pull it out. So that's kind of all I got. Replace the starter. That obviously seems to be working fine now, starting no problem with no issues. It could have been that little signal wire that I saw that was barely touching. Very good possibility that it was like getting not a good signal and like being intermittent, but either way, swapped it out. Those teeth were messed up, so it was probably good to swap that out anyway. Backup lights, I don't know, at some point I'm just gonna rip all that out and just rewire it all again myself at some point. I mean, backup lights aren't a huge, I guess you need them, but it's not the worst thing. It's I'd rather have my starter, my 4 low, actually working, the light anyway. If any of you guys have had this problem with the 4 low, let me know. But I've gotten under there. I've had issues with it flickering. I get under there and wiggle some wires and jiggle some stuff around, and it turns back on, or it shuts off permanently and then comes back on later. So I do think it's something to do with the wiring. But if you got something else for me to test, or if you know what that harness is on the engine side, let me know that as well, because I don't know what that harness is. I just haven't looked into it yet. I'm trying to think if I have anything else. There's always a ton of stuff. That's, I think, it for now. I'm ready to go wheeling. We've been gone for so long. We actually have a lot of upgrades that got done to the stepchild while we were gone. We're gonna need to go over those and then go wheeling to test them out, which I think we need to do. So that'll be coming right up. Also, I think we're gonna start trying to do like 2 videos a week again instead of 1, because there's so much going on between Brittany's buggy that we're selling and the new buggy that she's getting and the stepchild and the BMW. Is just a lot of stuff going on, and there's so much to film. So I'm just gonna start doing that. Anyway, if you guys have any info or any advice for me for all these issues that I'm having, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Remember, you can find all of your Lite Brite Nation merch and decals at litebritstudios.com. Brittany also has a new calendar that's out that you can go to litebritstudios.com and check that out. It's a Brittany only sexy calendar for 2026, and it's limited run. We only ordered so many, so go over there and get your calendar before they're all gone. Love you guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Nothing quite says welcome back home to Utah like a windstorm with 30, 40, 50 mile an hour winds. And a tumbleweed to greet you at your front door. The 40-degree Fahrenheit weather doesn't hurt either, but that's a big boy. I don't know what I'm doing with him. Just let him chill in my front door, I guess. In a moment. Welcome back home.